Good Friday afternoon, evening. Are you still doing emails?
Emails? No. I will never admit it.
I was actually just checking Slack myself, so that's fine. It's like, wait, that sounds like the end of the song. Sounds like the end of the song. Something's getting ready to happen. Oh yeah, we're supposed to do a show. By the way, my name's Darren, if you don't know who I am. This over here is Victor, and we are the co-host of a podcast called DevOps Paradox, and on Fridays, we do this live stream. Podcast comes out on Wednesdays at 6 a.m. Eastern. And ever since the time that we will not name, we've been doing this. Do you realize, I haven't gone back to count them up yet. And other than May, when we sort of had a little bit of a hiatus, we've been here pretty much every week.
For how long? Is this going for a year already?
Last April. Oh yeah, over a year.
Oh, year and a half. Oh my.
Yeah. That's long time to do anything. Speaking of a long time to do anything, last week's show, we had one news item about the root certificate for Let's Encrypt failing. Remember talking about that?
I do.
Guess what I woke up to this morning?
Your certificate for DevOps Paradox failed?
No, not that. It actually happened yesterday, and it was for a site that I help co-maintain. And the site is written with PHP 5.6. Or it's hosted on a server that has 5.6. All the code's written for 5. It can't go to 7. Don't ask me why. It's fine. It's what it is. And all of a sudden, part of the system, which was using DOM load. So if you're familiar with DOM document and load, if you've done any PHP, not a very abnormal thing.
But I can imagine what it does.
Yeah. So it was trying to load and has been working for years. This site is, good grief, 15 years old. 12 to 15 years old. No major updates. It's got a little bit of data driven, but not a whole lot. That started failing on September 30th. At a very specific time saying, cannot start crypto. I went, Now, this site does have Let's Encrypt certificates on it. So if we would not have talked about that last week, I would have been because there's another guy that actually does all the real work, and I sort of do the server maintenance on it. If we wouldn't have talked about that last week, I'd have been clueless.
You would have to cancel this session because you would still be trying to figure it out.
Yeah, well, number one, he said there was something about SSL. I went, oh, yesterday was September 30th. I wonder. And I went back through the error logs, and the first place that error started happening was on September 30th. So my gut is telling me that there was something in PHP 5.6. And I did notice there were some modules that needed to be updated. So even after updating the modules, it still was failing. So he'd already put a plan B in place, and the plan B worked. So after I did all the module updates, I went back to the plan A that had been running for years, and it still didn't work. So we're staying with plan B, and it's fine.
Nothing wrong with that.
So even the content that we talked about actually helped me this week. Whether it helped anybody else, it helped me. So speaking of things that were interesting this week. Oh yeah, you get your drink. I'm almost out of lime.
Fuzzy water.
I have my fuzzy water. Yes, fuzzy water. That's what I'm going to start calling it. Not fizzy water, but fuzzy water. I'm almost out of lime, so it's almost time to go back to orange. Actually, now that it's October, they don't have a pumpkin. I wish they had a pumpkin. That would be nasty, though. Be nasty. All right, let's talk about the podcast this week. Since I wasted a few minutes talking about Let's Encrypt. Did anybody else have any Let's Encrypt problems yesterday? I'd like to know. That would just be interesting. Jivaden, what is going up? Oh, hey, this is interesting. We got notified by AWS that multiple services may have issues due to the recent cert expiring. Did you have any problems? Did anything blow up?
Hey, that makes me wonder, kind of like probably it's going to be silly. I'm going to say something silly, but Slack is in disarray. It's not working for a day now. For all I know, they might be having the same issue.
You're having problems with Slack? I haven't had any problems with Slack.
Oh yeah, it's just crashing all the time, and you cannot load messages. And I know that I'm not the only one, so it's not me. I know it's not me.
Oh, interesting. Nothing blew up as of yet, or we probably don't know. No, if you would have known, trust me, you would have, well, it may be blowing up and it may not be affecting you. This one just happened because of what it was doing. My use case, it raised its head. If we weren't doing what we were doing in that app, it would not have, we wouldn't have known. Okay. Let's go back here. What is bare metal in cloud computing? Basically, I couldn't come up with a really great thing, so Ian or anybody else from PhoenixNet that's watching this, please forgive me, I basically stole this, and what we should have said is, what is bare metal cloud computing or something, but I was trying to do some SEO work, and this title came up, so that's what I used. But bare metal as a service. This is becoming a bigger and bigger thing.
I mean, theoretically, if you could, and I know that we are not there yet, right? But if you could provide the same level of service on bare metal as on VMs, then yeah, why not? I mean, kind of, I don't have a special reason. The main reason why most of us are using VMs is convenience. If you get that convenience and that flexibility with bare metal, there is no good reason for VMs.
Yeah. So we spoke with Ian McClarity, who's the president of PhoenixNet. It was very interesting. One of the other things, too, is in their facility, they're basically, what was the phrasing that he used? I don't remember. Oh, on-ramp. You can on-ramp to AWS and GCP right from there. And being able to basically just do a cross-connect to AWS or GCP, wouldn't you like to be able to do that?
Oh, yeah.
That would be very, very interesting. It's like, hey, here's the AWS router or switch. Here's your port. Next. But then it's also scary that, hey, here's your port. Hope it doesn't go down, which I'm sure they don't. And also here, I want to call this out just in case most people don't go to show notes. There's a link here for full data center for Phoenix. Take some time. I mean, I would take this one to walk you through the data center. So this is sort of like if you were to go to Disney and go in the underground. They take you to places probably where a lot of people have never been. This was cool. If you like data centers at all, this is probably one of the more interesting walkthroughs. So, anyway, that was this week's show. I actually have next week's show edited, but it's not done yet. Like I have the edit done, but nothing else done. So I don't even have a title for it yet. Actually, I do, because we already had the title for it before we recorded it. So next week's is going to be good. But I'm not going to say anything else about it now. This is congratulations in order for Vladislav,
Yay.
which I'm not sure if Vladislav is here with us live today. If you don't know who Vladislav is, he's one of our regulars. But now, I'm not sure, we've poked and prodded at him, but now Vladislav's the CTO. So now that he's the C level, he has to bring cookies for everybody anytime he shows up, right?
No, he cannot show up because if you're
right.
sea level, then you cannot mix with mortals.
Right.
You look bad.
So-
You don't look good anymore.
So to Vladislav, congratulations. And I'm so sorry all at the same time. So that's good. Other interesting news this week. This is probably where we're going to sit for just a few minutes. I actually saw this before they dropped this press release. They launched OpenVS Code Server. OpenVS Code Server. What does this
We didn't
mean?
go through it yet. What is it? Is it kind of open source version of VS Code Server?
Yes, that's what it is. It runs the latest VS Code on a remote machine through a modern web browser. So no IE4 for anybody, right? I hope nobody's still using IE4. Here's the deal. Here's where it made it interesting. The project, it wasn't just Gitpod. GitLab, VMware, Uber, SAP, SourceGraph, RStudio, SUSE, and many others. And here's where it boils down to here. Unlike other attempts, this project is based on a minimal set of changes and uses the same architecture that powers both Gitpod and GitHub Codespaces at scale. So now the question is, do you run your own? I don't know.
Depends of scale.
Of scale, yeah. If I have 3 people in an environment, this would be like, yeah, maybe. That way I don't have to pay anything. But I'm thinking through different use cases.
If you get 3 people, you can probably get away with Gitpod without paying anything.
That's true.
Also.
But I'm thinking of other use cases for this. What about training? Setting up environments for training are a pain in the butt on a really good day. What if you were able to just provide a great editor? We've talked about this of how much hardware do we really need and what needs to be on it. Is it possible a Chromebook could become our only machine?
It's not that much about Chromebooks for trainings. Doesn't matter whether it's Chromebook or a laptop, kind of like not having any dependency for training. Hey, you need to have this, you need to have that, and this and that, and does it work on Windows, does it work on Mac, on Linux? And it's a never-ending story for trainings. Being able just to say, this is the URL, off you go, is just absolutely amazing.
Think about it from an engineering hiring perspective. Somebody comes on, okay, how many different things do I need to do to my laptop, desktop to get it to a point to where I can commit my first line of code versus here's your space, have a nice day. All the tooling, all the right versions of Python, all the right versions of Ruby, all the right versions of, the things that are hard. Like Java's just annoying, but at least it's easy. It all lives under one directory. And you just get the home set up right and you're good to go. Python's not that way. Ruby's not that way, at least not cleanly. So I think what's very interesting here is also the way they called it out here. Unlike other attempts. And it's open source. Now, what I wish I could have seen here on this list, it would have been interesting to have seen GitHub on here.
That the possibility of that happening are close to zero.
I agree.
Let's face it.
And I get it.
This is brilliant at one hand, but this is also this is the answer to GitHub Spaces. This is the answer to competition, basically.
Right. And it sort of makes sense here. Look at the first 2 that are here, GitLab and VMware. Now, virtualization, direct competitor, roughly, at least to GitHub. Big overlap, right? Not 100%, but big overlap. Now, by GitLab and VMware coming together and everybody else helping out Gitpod with this project, now you have competition, if you will, against GitHub Codespaces. Not real competition. Competition's the wrong word. What would be the right word for this?
Competition.
An option? An option? What?
Yeah, alternative.
Alternative. Because you may not be using GitHub, right? There are some people in the world that don't use GitHub. We'll talk about that once we get towards the end of the show.
Oh yeah, I mean once we start talking about big companies, I mean GitLab is just as much there or more than GitHub.
Okay, I'll go with that. I don't know that that's completely true, but by the time you mix, what I will say is GitHub, Bitbucket, and GitLab are the big 3.
Yeah.
And percentage-wise, it's not 30 by any stretch, but the numbers are more interesting, I think, than, say, Subversion's now gone. Of course, we were joking about internally in some Slack the other day. It's like, okay, well, now that we're back to basic, I don't remember the full context of everything, but basically now that we're heading back towards monoliths and we don't need distributed stuff anymore, then do we still really need Git? And if that's true, can we just go back to CVS?
Shared drive.
Yeah. Okay. So this is the other part of that joke. It wasn't a joke, but it became one. Was like, oh, well, let's just get Visual Source Safe back out. And I went, okay, Visual Source. Now, for the people, I've looked at some analytics for people that listen to us and watch us. Most people, it appears, are 25 to 35, right? Just ballpark. I'm the outlier in the whole thing. So you may not even know what Visual Source Safe is. Let's just call it it was a good version control system that allowed editing of files only by one person at a time. You never had merge conflicts, ever. But you had lots of different different other issues. So I'm happy with Git. But the question was, okay, well, what comes after Git? And do we, what's that? What comes after Linux? What comes after Kubernetes? What comes after Git? That's another conversation for another day.
I haven't seen even anything, even on a horizon, even as idea what comes next.
Yeah,
Probably it will be something about blockchain.
It's just so stinking slow. But yes, I agree. That's the only infrastructure that even makes sense. I'm not going to get into that because I have other ideas around that I've had for years, and everybody says, "No, you're stupid." But now I'm starting to see these things come alive. Oh wait, okay. So Jivan came back here. Oh yeah, this is true right here. This is what I think. We're currently aware that some Lambda functions using .NET 3.1 and Ruby 2.7 are experiencing elevated errors when using a certificate signed by Let's Encrypt. Those are super old versions, right?
Exactly.
It's probably a library down there that that's depending not on the system's search store. I bet that's what it is. That's what I think it is. Anyway, all right, so I haven't downloaded this yet because I didn't look at the specs, but it is simple as just running it in an image. And they created guides for AWS, DigitalOcean, GCP, Railway, Render. It's there. How do you want to do it? I think it's cool. I think it's super cool.
There's nothing better than competition driving innovation.
Absolutely. I won't say anything else. There was one other thing I wanted to call out here, and I don't remember what it was, and I did not write it down. Yeah, this was always one that we touched on this before. We didn't really talk too much. Keep your source secure. If your source code is not on your laptop, if your laptop gets stolen while you're at a coffee shop, your source code isn't there. Now, again, are you using something like a YubiKey and all sorts of other authentication to unlock the machine? That's your call. But I like this. I like this a lot. So anyway. I wonder how much, because it doesn't tell you how much here. Let's go to DigitalOcean. Because, oh wait, I have to set up a DigitalOcean account if I want to use it? These guys are fakers. No. Create the droplet. Prepare the droplet. It doesn't give me a spec.
But I'm guessing that the instructions should be more or less the same, right? Create a cluster that differs, and then once you have a cluster or a server or whatever, execute this command.
Yeah, it just doesn't, like I would expect to see, okay, when you're creating this droplet, you want to make sure you pick this size at least this size droplet. That's what I'm looking for. Because I would expect you need at least a reasonable size. Maybe not. I'll see if it'll run on my Raspberry Pi 3, which has a gig of RAM. If it runs there, we'll see. Okay. Enough about Gitpod, but I'm excited to follow this as it moves forward. Okay. This was an interesting item. Cloudflare R2 storage, rapid and reliable object storage, RR. So like how we have S3, which is simple storage service, now we have R2. As long as they come up with a D2, that would be great.
-1.
Why?
I mean, R goes before
Oh.
S and 2 goes before 3.
Oh, I didn't even catch that. -1 on both
Yeah.
sides.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Did you read that somewhere else? Or did you just make that up?
No, kind of like,
Okay.
I wonder kind of why R2, right?
Yeah.
And
Well,
then, oh,
so-
yeah, S3.
This blog post gets into it, really requestable, and then they have repositioning records, and they build out a bunch of stuff here. But here's the reason why this is important. So if I can find this paragraph where they called out. R2 builds on Cloudflare's commitment to the Bandwidth Alliance, which we won't go there today, providing zero-cost egress for stored objects no matter your request rate. This is usually the biggest spend, right?
That's one of those things that you need to be big to understand how important this is. But storage, the traffic, actually, is one of the biggest costs, if not the biggest cost. It's one of those hidden costs that you don't know about until you get hit with a bill.
Yep. It also says here, this doesn't mean we are shifting bandwidth cost elsewhere. Cloudflare R2 will be priced at $0.015 per gig of data stored each month. Stored. Significantly cheaper than the incumbent providers. This is going to be S3 compliant.
Exactly.
Now this is all the links that we're going through today, or most every link. I don't think I've got, like anything I'm pulling up live, those won't be there. But anything that we're going through here, those are down in the description, or will be in the description by tomorrow morning, Eastern. But Corey Quinn did a breakdown on it. And this long thread, I want to go through. I'm going to store 1 gig of data in S3 and serve it out to the internet. The storage charge is 2.3 cents per month in the tier 1 regions. Okay, so that doesn't freak me out. 1 gig, I pay 2 cents. Somebody on the internet grabs that 1 gig of data once. I'm paying 9 cents to ship it to them. 4x the time, just once, for 1 gig.
Exactly.
Oh wait, it gets better. As described, the first time you request an object from S3 via Cloudflare, I pay 9 cents to send it out, the one time, and then from that point forward, 1.5 cents a month to keep it in R2. So think of this, at this point, R2 is a proxy for S3. Think of it like CloudFront, if you will, if you're going to stay completely in the AWS ecosystem. And from that point forward, egress becomes free. So I paid 11 cents, what do you say, 2.5, or a penny, what was it to begin with? 2.3 cents
2.3,
and 9 cents. So let's call it 12 cents. And then over here, I'm paying a penny and a half. So 13.5, 14 cents. Keeping it on S3, so no big deal. You can cut over to S3 infrequent access. So that drops the price. Okay, no big deal. You can go through this. Let's get down to where I really want you to see it. So it's basically all this stuff. Here's the final point. One to many. If 1 million people downloaded that 1 gig file this month, my cost with Cloudflare R2 would be 13 cents. Right? The storage, the one pull, the 1.5 cents. For S3, $59,247.52. Now,
exactly.
I'm not a data scientist. I'm not a statistician. But I can do basic math. This is why R2 is amazing if it ships the way that they're saying it's going to ship. Think about it. I don't even know what the multiple on that is. Right? It's 13 cents is 5.5x to $1. And now I have 57, or call it 60,000. So 60,000 times 5x, 300,000% increase? I know my numbers are probably off. If this actually ships and Cloudflare keeps their word on this, this is life-changing. Think about open source projects that aren't funded by big companies. They're real open source projects, but people are still downloading gigs and terabytes and potentially petabytes of data from them each month. What does this make possible for that? Right now, they may have cut a deal with a provider to do some hosting, but they're still paying thousands potentially a month. But here, maybe you're paying a couple $100 a month because you may have thousands of files that you serve out. None that are a gig probably, but a few hundred K, maybe a meg, 2 meg. This is amazing. Absolutely amazing.
That is indeed amazing. Again, you need to be faced with those bills first to actually understand the amazingness of that.
To be able to basically have what I'm going to call a reasonably fixed cost, or at least to be able to forecast what your cost is really going to be. Instead of being off by 300,000%, maybe you're off by 10%, or maybe even 50% off.
But that's the only way, the only way companies that are not Google, Azure, AWS can compete with the big three is like that. Either you need to offer either significant price saving or something that they don't have. Now, figuring out something that AWS doesn't have is close to impossible. So you need to play on price or something really truly new. Like, Snowflake would probably be in that category, right?
Right. We'll go back here. You may have missed what Victor said. It's actually a -1 for both of them. R2, S3. So R before S, 2 before 3.
Yep.
That's your conspiracy theory for the day. If you go back and read the blog post, which you should, just to understand everything, R2 means. So there's a bunch of different R2 means within this post, which is very interesting. But I'm like right now it is in, let's go to the bottom, because at the moment it's under development. You can sign here to join the wait list for access. Let's do that right now. Have I done that yet? I have not. I'll do it after a while. It doesn't matter, but I will do it after a while. Think about it though. Okay, so let's go back there for just a second because I need to zoom in here just so you can see what's going on. Look at what they're asking for. Expected storage size in terabytes. How would you like to be the product owner for this, Victor? And
Product owner for R2.
For R2.
I'm not sure I want to be a product owner. You're putting me now in a complicated position.
Okay, for this specific
dealing with people, right?
I know. It's fine. But think about this for just a second. If you had control over this, and the question you decided to ask was expected storage size in terabytes, think about who this is for.
It's for big guys.
No, it's not even for big guys. It's for small to medium guys. Think about somebody that's built up. Okay, if you were to put together all of our videos, all of our podcasts, we're probably pushing 3 terabytes right now. That's not a lot.
Including raw material?
Raw material would be more than that.
Oh, much more.
Yeah, but by the time you mix in your side as well, think about all this, right? Now the other thing that was funny that I didn't cover today, this came out on, it was this week, the 28th.
Yeah, a few days ago.
Right. They made an announcement yesterday They made this Web3 decentralized web today. I'm not going to go there for the moment. But what they made yesterday was announcing Cloudflare TV as a service. Now, they've got this whole video streaming thing that they're building too. So it all comes along with that, I think. I think they're cutting deals with communication providers, or they're laying their own fiber to an extent that, again, I'm totally guessing, to
Really
where
imagine how
their
much-
cost is nothing for egress.
Exactly.
Yeah, this is, watch out Netflix. Netflix will probably use them. That'll cut their cost.
Yeah.
Vladislav showed up.
That smells more like
Vladislav.
being used for Netflix by Netflix-like companies, not really competing with them.
Yeah. Vladislav's here. Victor, say hello to
Hey,
Vladislav.
Vladislav.
We talked about you earlier, just in case you weren't here. Congratulations on your CTO-ness. That's very cool. Cloudflare is doing a lot of stuff right now that if you're not watching them, even if you don't use them, you need to watch them. They're doing some very interesting things right now. So anyway, let's go here. There were no tools this week. Everybody has gone radio silent. It's 2 weeks till KubeCon.
Not even 2. Less than 2.
Less than 2. Yeah, it's
10
what,
days.
10 days? Yeah. Well, it's the 13th, right?
A week and a change.
We change. Okay. All right. Anyway, so we don't have much in tools this week, but I saw this one that was pretty interesting. A painless task queue manager for shell commands. So executing shell commands in a distributed cloud native queue manager. The heck? It's really super new, like a week old type new. And he doesn't even have any good examples here. So I'd like to see this a little bit more, but basically here's one to where they call them macros. And you give it a command, and here you can actually create a file on the fly, which is sort of weird, and then you go off and it runs it wherever and however. It's almost like a scheduler for shell commands. Don't we have another thing that can do that for us?
Every pipeline tool in the world.
Yeah. But it's currently supporting Redis as the back end, but they're wanting to go SQS, Kafka, Postgres. So to be able to send a command out, and you have people to subscribing to those queues, topics, whatever. So instead of having to connect and do things, which I saw another project that I decided not to put on here, it was basically distributed SSH. This is a little more different. It's event-based shell commands. I don't know. What do you think? Interesting? Not interesting? You can't think about it right now?
No, it's kind of like basically that, cron job, if you need anything more complicated than a cron job.
Yeah.
We have Kubernetes jobs, we have pipelines, all doing the same thing.
Yeah.
I need to see whether there is anything really special there or just another.
Just another thing. Yeah, because he doesn't give any history here. What I would like to see here is sort of, okay, why did I do this? That would be nice to know. So, speaking of why did people do things, you went into Fly this week.
Yeah, I went flying this week. I like it.
Just go ahead.
I always like, at least as idea, attempts to simplify things. And what kind of makes Fly special is that I see companies simplifying how you manage applications, but I don't see many that combine that with infrastructure. So imagine all those other projects that let you deploy and manage your applications in a much easier way, but you still own the infra, right? This is kind of, hey, no, you literally don't manage anything. You just say, here's my app, run it, and it runs it somewhere. Now, that by itself is also not kind of new. I mean, again, I sound like broken record, but that's what Google Cloud runs. That's what Azure Container Instances do. Lightsail as well. So the major promise of Flyway is that they will distribute your application across regions depending on where your users are. So the premise is great. Execution, need to watch the video.
That's a polite way to say it. And now that Google Cloud Run actually has multi-region, it'll be interesting to see how that feature compares against how Fly actually works.
Yeah. I mean, it's simplicity here. Google
It
Cloud
is,
Run
yeah.
with multi-region, still
A
more
lot more
complicated.
work. Yeah.
Now, the question is usually kind of, when you do much less work, do you get the results you need or no? That's always
Right.
the major question.
Right.
I always want to go with the least amount of work,
Correct.
but there is a limit to what I'm willing to sacrifice to do that.
Yep. So that was this week's video. Also, with it being October 1st, Hacktoberfest has officially started, even though it sort of started earlier this week. I am wearing my Hacktoberfest 2020 shirt. This is probably going to be my last Hacktoberfest shirt, because I think I'm going to plant a tree this year. So remember I talked a little bit earlier about, hey, what do you need to do? Well, let's do this. Let's go to Start Hacking. If you haven't signed up yet, you can now sign up with either GitHub and or GitLab.
Oh, I want to see which one you prefer.
Well, I've already signed up. Well, this is an anonymous browser, so
kidding.
it doesn't matter. Well, I signed up for GitHub, but I'm also going to sign up for GitLab because there is one project that I do some documentation stuff on that's on GitLab. It's not on GitHub.
Nice.
So I'll go ahead and click that button too once I'm in a browser that does the real work. But this is the first year that they have put GitLab in. Somebody's missing here, isn't it? But
The ugly duckling?
Bitbucket, yeah. But there aren't many open source, I've not seen any actually open source projects on Bitbucket.
No.
So,
There's probably a handful, if any.
yeah.
I mean, let's face it, open source is GitHub. First and foremost. There are some projects on GitLab, but that's more like kind of as a reaction to, hey, GitHub is evil, Microsoft is evil, and stuff like that. So some number of them in GitLab, but that's insignificant compared to GitHub, right? And Bitbucket. Nope. Yet. 9.
Speaking of which, let me go back over here to YouTube because I meant to bring this up. On, is that what it is? I don't remember what the handle is. Yeah,
No,
that's it.
Oh, yeah, it is it.
Next Thursday at 11
Yeah.
a.m. So if you haven't signed up, so this is a different, so you're watching this on DevOps Paradox. Victor's channel is DevOps Toolkit. And every other Thursday, at least for the time being, we may have to shift it, but that's the working plan, is an AMA. And the topic for this coming week is going to be GitOps. Nobody wants to talk about GitOps, do they?
I mean, have you seen the voting that was going on and the stats?
I haven't. No. I
Okay,
haven't looked.
so we posted a post in YouTube, kind of without much commercial or anything, for people to vote, and 339 of you voted for, and the winner is GitOps.
Oh, okay.
Actually, it just changed. Now it's GitOps and DevOps is being the subject.
Oh, really?
Equally. Yeah, but that will be the next one then.
Okay. So I will remember here. Let me write it down. Let's see. Add. live stream to notes. So in the notes today, there will be a link to this, so you can go ahead and set a reminder. Again, happening on October 7th. That's a Thursday at 11 a.m. Eastern. That's just, because I'm Eastern, that's telling me when it is. So, GitOps. Does that mean I have to learn GitOps between now and then?
Questions in advance. Even if you're coming, you can ask live, but posting it in advance is great because it gives us an idea of where things are going.
So where do you want the questions posted? Do you want them in the chat?
A comment.
Or you want them down in the comments? Okay.
Whatever. I'll find it.
We'll find it. Yep.
Whatever.
Okay. Good. All right. So that's coming up next Thursday. And then we'll still be back on Fridays to do this. Not as... It's different, right? We've talked about this. Why are we doing what we're doing here? Why is it that we're sort of splitting... We're not splitting the brand because you always had the other brand, but why are we doing what we're doing? It's a little bit different audience, right?
Not only that, but the whole ask me anything, ask us anything, I'm not sure how to call it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
That comes from having a lot of questions in comments on videos that are not necessarily, that are somewhere in between, not necessarily for a full video, but also not necessarily that it can be answered in one or two or three sentences in comments. And if I need to write more than couple of sentences in comments, my brain stops functioning. So it's very much about answering the questions that are coming anyways.
Right. Sorry, I was checking Slack while you were talking. Did you say something? I just heard something happening in my ear. I did a Victor thing, didn't I?
Exactly.
Oh, wait. Why did you put the... Okay, hang on a second. I don't have this up here. So why did you put the speech bubble over on my side instead of your side?
I didn't put anything.
I know.
It's
you
not
had somebody
me.
else do it. I know. I know.
Exactly. And it's because it's kind of odd even numbers, right? I speak most of the time in the odd ones, and you speak most of the time in even ones, right? It's your turn next week.
Okay. Sure. This day we're talking about GitOps. We're getting on pretty good with some ops now. Yeah, we can do that. Okay, so if you haven't signed up for the Slack, it's down there. You should. We had a lot of people join Slack this week too.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, there's always a consistent stream, but this week seemed to spike a little bit more. Well, I don't know why, but thank you for the people that did join up in the Slack workspace. We appreciate it. And let's see, do you have a conference this coming week? Do you remember?
Coming week, one only.
Just one.
Only.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so. I don't know. Yeah, only one next week. And then KubeCon, I have no talks, but wait, 9 breakout sessions.
Are they still doing hybrid? I haven't kept up with it.
Yeah, it's still hybrid, yeah.
Okay. So how do you do a hallway track in a hybrid?
I have no idea. My plan is just to come at the time other people put it in my calendar, and my plan is to click a link, talk, and
say hi,
and say goodbye. And whether that will work, how it works, I don't know. I have no idea. Not my problem.
That's very funny. Yeah, and then you've got... Are you doing reInvent this year too?
Yeah, reInvent as well. Yes.
But you're still not traveling.
I mean,
you still can't leave the country, so...
I can leave the country. I just cannot get to your country.
Nice. Oh,
I can leave my country. But it's going crazy, kind of like... I don't know whether I'm imagining things, but since September, there is an elevated number of conferences. It's happening every week, multiple ones.
Yeah.
Kind of all the time. Okay, I think I have like 10 already scheduled the next couple of months.
I think everything's scrambling, and then it'll go quiet after the end of November. It'll start slowing way down end of November. December will be quiet. Beginning of January will be semi-quiet.
It will not be quiet, man. It's KubeCon China,
Oh, in January?
December.
Oh, December. Can you fly there?
Huh?
Can you fly to China?
That one
I don't think so.
That one is online only.
Oh, that's online only. Okay.
But the one after that, that's going to be the good one.
And
That's
that one
in my
is
neighborhood.
What is?
That's like driving distance from me, huh?
Where's it going to be?
Valencia.
Oh, it's in Valencia.
Valencia, Spain.
Oh, so that one you'll go to
Oh
Just
yeah,
to-
that one I'm
just
going.
to leave the house.
Yeah, kind of. Exactly. Even if I don't get tickets, I don't get admitted to the conference itself, I'll still go, kind of. If no other reason to visit friends.
Vladislav says you can come to Germany.
I'm waiting for you, Vladislav, to give me the dates in December.
There you go, Vladislav.
And
you heard it.
Vladislav will organize it again 2 weeks before it starts, and then I will say that I cannot. That's how Vladislav functions. It's internal thing. He will understand probably.
Because I don't, and that's okay. Anything else? We might wrap up a little bit early today.
Yeah, I think that's it. Nothing from my side at least.
Nothing else big. I think the big thing, GitPod this week, announcing that project with everybody and their mother. And Cloudflare, holy cow. There's stuff coming from Cloudflare that that is going to be... I'm just watching them very closely.
Yeah. I mean,
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, but also, big guys are always waiting to see the reactions. So if this disrupts their business, if it doesn't disrupt their business, they will do nothing, right? If it disrupts, then they will drop the prices. Trust me, AWS can drop the prices of egress without going bankrupt. So it's what I'm trying to say is that the boys against which Cloudflare is playing are tough. They're not. No, it's not an easy competition. It's was it something in Goliath type of
David and
story.
Goliath. Yes.
There we go.
Yeah, but Cloudflare isn't that small. They're not AWS size or Google size, but they have a very interesting sizing perspective.
Oh, of course, but still, it's peanuts compared to AWS.
And what would be interesting too is how that's going to not just affect the big three, because they can drop the prices and absorb it in different ways. I'm thinking about the Akamais and the Fastleys and the Cashflies.
Oh yeah.
Right? It's those types because that's how they built their business.
Oh yeah.
So, I don't know. I guess we'll be watching that one play out for quite a while. So.
Oh yeah.
All right. Well, why don't we wrap it up a little bit early for today, and that means I can go back and do things that I got tagged with that I got to relearn again. So that's fine. That's why I get paid. So thanks everybody for hanging out with us live. The next podcast episode will be out on Wednesday at 6 a.m. Eastern. Don't forget the live stream AMA on GitOps that I'll be leading next Thursday at 11 a.m. Eastern, and then we should be back next Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. CET. Did I say everything? I think I did.
Probably.
Is there anything else? Okay. Close enough.
I
All right.
don't know.
Let's see. Everybody have a great weekend. We will talk to you again next week.